Hi, I'm Matt Hawk, a product manager with Fruition Partners. We're going to be looking at a call center solution that we provided to one of our customers. This customer was a managed service provider, and so the call center really played a central part of their overall business, of course. So if we look at their service desk, the service desk is where all of their customers would call to receive assistance with the applications provided to them. And this customer, before we began working with them, of course, relied on a legacy telephony system. And the legacy telephony system provides the basic routing capability that takes an inbound call and routes it to the appropriate agent. And it also provides basic metrics that tell you how many calls you receive over time. And using this system, we had our customer themselves had outside customers both in the US, in India, and in several other places around the world. Now, separate from the telephony system, our customer also relied on a separate ticketing application, the Service Management Suite. So we'll use ServiceNow here. And so these two distinct applications were serving different needs, call handling on one hand and ticket handling on the other. So usually an agent would create a ticket upon receiving a call, and these two systems really weren't communicating with each other. So in working with the customer, there were many opportunities for improvement. Of course, one of the things we wanted to do was bridge the gap between two disparate systems and bring them into a single application in the form of ServiceNow. So calls actually come into ServiceNow. The routing and metrics is all now stored in ServiceNow itself. And what this provides is a new capability from a scalability standpoint. So now we have the ability to support new agents, a larger population, and some of these agents may not even be working at the service desk physically. They may be working out of their homes. We also have the ability with new levels of scalability, of course, to support additional customers. Now, you may wonder, how are we able to do this in ServiceNow? ServiceNow is a ticketing application. Well, what Fruition Partners provides is an application called Telebridge. And what Telebridge does is provide telephony capabilities within the ServiceNow platform itself. So this layer now takes all of the calls from customers and relies on ServiceNow to perform the routing and the call connecting. This, in turn, relies on a cloud service from one of our partners called Twilio. And Twilio operates a cloud-based telephony API. So the API is what enables Telebridge to handle calls through the ServiceNow platform. So why is it so important to do the call handling in ServiceNow itself? Well, one of the reasons why doing call routing in ServiceNow makes a lot of sense is the routing itself can be much more robust in terms of how a decision is made about who should handle a particular call. In ServiceNow, the metadata is present to actually be able to support routing based on skill, based on whether or not the customer calling is a VIP, based on the customers that each agent is actually responsible for supporting. Maybe there's a decision that hinges on the terms of a contract that are stored in ServiceNow. And so all of these attributes, which in many cases are already stored in ServiceNow, can now all be leveraged in the routing of calls coming from customers. Another benefit of performing call routing in ServiceNow itself is the concept of call telephony integration. Now, a lot of legacy systems even offer call telephony integration, but in ServiceNow we're able to offer a very rich context for the service desk agent based on each caller who calls in. So when a caller calls in, for example, we know their location, we know their company,
language,
their language, and these are just some of the attributes, and one more, which is their previous calls. These are attributes that can immediately be presented to the service desk agent as soon as a customer calls in. All of these attributes are already stored in ServiceNow. ServiceNow contains location, company, language, and through related list functionality in ServiceNow, we're able to show previous calls immediately on screen as soon as the call is received. So let's look at how all of these pieces tie together to actually complete a phone call. So we start, of course, with the customer placing a call. Now he's able to place a call using any phone, a cell phone, a traditional landline. They're really not aware of all of the cloud-based technologies that are being brought to bear. So the customer connects to Twilio. Twilio exchanges messages back and forth with ServiceNow and our Telebridge integration product in order to make a decision about how to route the call. And it can also present an IVR menu to the customer. If you want to speak to somebody in customer support, press 1, and so on. ServiceNow then, as I mentioned earlier, is doing all of the routing decisions, but it's also serving to the service agents a browser-based soft phone. So you may have agents that are located outside of an office, as I mentioned, and they're able to use on their computer a soft phone present directly within the browser. So in doing this, not only are we actually connecting calls to the agents, but this gives us another piece of information that's important from a routing standpoint, and that's the availability of each agent. So they're not simultaneously logging in and out of a telephony system and logging in and out of ServiceNow. They're logging into a single browser-based application which provides all of the information needed to route calls to them. An additional benefit our customer received by routing calls through ServiceNow is the actual historical nature of calls are now much more relevant being within ServiceNow. So call recordings are accessible through the exact same ticketing interface where they're reviewing the history of a service management ticket. We also are able to store agent scoring. And then, of course, the call metrics themselves. How many calls occurred, how many were dropped, how long do the calls last. All of this information is now something that can be cross-referenced with the ticketing information present in ServiceNow. By handling the call center in ServiceNow, we also have all of the benefits of service management, unified service delivery in the ServiceNow platform. So the call center is now empowered to route tickets to any number of service organizations. They can route a ticket to IT, to HR, whatever may be appropriate based on all of the metadata and the conversation that they're having with the customer. From an overall standpoint, one of the benefits that we want to emphasize is in leveraging the Twilio platform. And the Twilio platform really provides two major benefits that I want to call out in particular. One, as I mentioned, is that there's a scalability element to this. So whereas in the past, a customer with a legacy telephony system is constantly dealing with how many channels of calls can I support? How many concurrent calls do I get? How many calls are coming into the call center? Twilio takes all of that and abstracts it in a cloud interface that allows you to take as many calls as you need, and Twilio absorbs the increased demand with their cloud services. So you can scale the number of calls coming into the call center, and of course, as mentioned, you can also scale the number of agents that are taking those calls. So the cloud-based telephony service is really a superior platform for scalability. And it's also superior in terms of cost. When we replace the legacy telephony system, we're finding that Twilio can provide per minute savings of over half. And this is an important component for especially a managed service provider where managing the cost of those customer interactions is so important to their business model. For more information on how Fruition Partners can help you elevate service management to the cloud, visit our website or give us a call.